Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for that nice introduction. So when I was 14 years old, I founded a youth-led NGO dedicated to education inequalities and youth empowerment through leadership. If you look at the white piece of paper over here with my handwriting, that was actually my very first brainstorm when I was trying to figure out what I wanted the organization to be and where I wanted it to go. So I thought today I would just talk about more of what influenced me to start this organization and the challenges I faced in running it and how I overcame it. What started as a ragtag team of 7 students from one school operating one program has now grown to a NGO, a successfully registered NGO with over 111 volunteers operating 8 different educational programs and youth empowerment events. So we've also expanded to other countries, including Singapore and South Korea. So those 2 pictures are from that. And so I just wanted to now talk about what influenced me to do this, because you won't find a lot of young teenagers going out in the world to do something. So I just wanted to talk a bit about my parents. Growing up, I had a very cushy life. I lived a very comfortable life. Anything I needed, I could get. Anything I wanted, I could get. I had good education. But I always knew outside of my life, there were definitely people who were facing even more hardships. And facing those, and people who faced those hardships included my parents. Both of them came from very humble backgrounds. They worked hard, they pushed through the barriers, they persevered, and they became very successful. And now they're senior executives at major companies in Hong Kong. My dad grew up in Hong Kong's notorious public housing. He had 9 siblings, all living in a tiny 400 square foot apartment. His dad was a security guard. His mother was a stay-at-home mom. Luckily, education back then, and now actually, well, education back then in Hong Kong was free. And my dad enjoyed his education. He finished primary school, he finished secondary school, and he loved learning. He always wanted to learn more. At the end of secondary school, he wanted to be an engineer. But the only thing was, his parents could not afford it, because his parents could not afford university. My dad was heartbroken, because he really wanted to pursue a life where he could give back to the community through engineering and infrastructure. So my dad worked hard. He worked in factories, he worked in construction sites. He worked until the age of 23. When everybody in his graduating class were coming back from university, he was going to university, because at the age of 23, he managed to just earn enough money to send himself to 1 year at the University of Sunderland in the UK. He worked night jobs when he went to the UK, and by doing so, he was able to pay for his college tuition. And now he is a very successful leader of a major engineering company in Hong Kong. On my mother's side, she also grew up in a very humble background. Although it wasn't that bad, she still faced a lot of difficulties. My grandmother worked 4 different jobs, and 1 full-time, 3 part-time, and my mother basically didn't have any time with her. She had to manage her own life. She had to lead her own life and make sure that she did everything and got everything done. As a result, she got good grades, and my grandmother, because of all the jobs that she was doing, was able to send all her children to university. So now, again, my mom is a very successful executive at a major company in Hong Kong. So this influenced me in that it showed me education really made a difference. Education is a key for enabling different opportunities in the future. And so that sort of influenced why I started the organization. But the catalyst of why I started the organization was when I was at a summer course. A speaker came into the summer course and talked about how he was at the age of 9 the founder of an environmental NGO that had planted trees all across the globe, in South Korea, in Singapore, in Los Angeles, and they're everywhere. And that really inspired me. It showed me that really, even if you're young, you can still do something. So I started support. And it hasn't been an easy process. There are numerous things like the legal process and all of that, finding a board of directors, which you can see down here. But I wanted to talk more about the challenges I faced with leadership. Because when you're 14 or 15, there's no way you'll know how to really lead a team of students. And if you ask anybody I know or anybody who works with me, they'll tell you that I am really hard-headed. And when I set my head on something, I really want to get it done, and I will move everything. I'll move heaven and earth to just get that done. But although this sounds very good and like very, very important to have this sort of hard-headedness as a leader, my senior team in October of 2015 came to me and told me, Joseph, if you don't stop, if you don't listen to us, we will quit. In my hard-headedness and in my sort of vision, I kept thinking of what the organization should be and how to really scale that up to be something of that level. And in that process, I completely disregarded my team. I didn't hear their opinions. I didn't really care about their opinions. And I just really cared about where I wanted the organization to be. And regardless of their input, it was going to happen. But when my senior team came to me and told me that, I was shocked, mainly because I thought they were okay with it, but I was shocked because it taught me a lesson. As a leader, you're not, to be honest, I think the title leader is a really overused title, because now when I look at my leadership, I don't see myself as a leader of the organization or the manager of the organization or whatever. I see myself as a facilitator. I figured out that my team had such great ideas. They had ideas popping out everywhere, and they wanted to do things, but because of my hard-headedness, they weren't able to do that. So I scaled back. I took a back seat. I tried to listen. I looked at all of their ideas, and I heard them out, and it wasn't me making the decision in the end. It was a vote. So we basically changed the structure of how decisions are made. But then I no longer saw myself as that visionary or leader of the organization who had to have some great vision of the future and where the organization should be in 10 years. I saw myself as a facilitator, seeing from my senior team what they thought the organization should be in 10 years. The idea here is that we as young people have many different ideas, and we should be embracing them. We should be talking to each other about them. We should be discussing how we can create the best possible solution for different issues that Hong Kong and other issues and other communities face. When there is a positive collision of ideas, there is for certain a positive outcome. And that is what I learned in my leadership in support. So I think the basic premise is that young people have different perspectives, and that is okay. That doesn't mean that just because another person on my team disagrees with me, that doesn't mean it's bad, because that would result in tunnel vision if I just power down what I wanted to do. I rather should embrace what they have in their head and create something out of that. And so, just on an ending note, I want to say Hong Kong is facing a lot of different issues right now. And we as young people, there are so many different factions in young people. There are some people who support different initiatives, some people who support the government. There are many different things within young people itself. But what I want to say here is that if all of us young people come together with different ideas, different perspectives, and different solutions, there is going to be a positive outcome. So just on a very ending last note, young people have to take action. Don't just stand there. If you have something you want to do, don't just sit down, wait for somebody else to do it. Do it yourself. You should take action and do something. Thank you.